There we go. Oh, wow. That's okay. Cool. That's why we didn't have a topic for today, because we're going to all figure this out together. But I just want to tell you that it's pretty trippy to see myself on my own laptop in front of me. This is like a weird when you look a mirror into another mirror moment. Okay. Let's. All right. Hi, everybody. Hi from New Jersey. That's where I'm from. From Texas. Awesome. Florida. Hi, everybody. Aw. This is great. Wow. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Um, I think I'm just gonna start doing this weekly. I know that I haven't been very consistent with YouTube, and I think it's just really because of the format is so disconnected that I prefer this. This is like I feel like, oh, okay, we're having a conversation here. I'm not just in my apartment talking to myself. It's different when I'm giving you the information, but when I'm like telling stories and stuff, I like you guys to be there. Wow, Nova Scotia, Wisconsin, awesome. Tennessee, Arizona, Texas, San Diego. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Omar. Um, all right, everybody. Uh, I know I didn't realize it started myself. It's going. We are figuring it out. But wow, from Australia. Hey, everybody. This is actually a pretty good time for people in Australia if they can get some time in the middle of the day. Oh, Austin. Austin, I feel like I'm going to be there soon. I don't know for what, but I'm very drawn to it. I wanted to basically start off by saying, everybody, thank you for being here. And kind of want to get your guys' feedback on what type of way you guys would like to do these. So, the idea that I had, I'll tell you this, we don't have to do it this full way. So, basically, if we were to maybe take like different videos that I've done, like say for example, what I'm thinking is the Dimension series, and then we would basically take one part of the Dimension series, maybe in the beginning of the live, watch it together. They're like, 5 to 7 minutes or something like that. So we would watch it all together in the beginning, one of like the parts of the Dimension series, and then we could do like a little hour talk about it, break it down, get it a little bit more like integrated into real life. People could share different things that they know about those topics. So that's something that I think would be fun to do. Also, what we could do would be if you guys wanted to do basically a like a Q&A, and we basically and we could also mix it up. We could do both at different times. Like say one day maybe you guys just want to do like the topic aliens, and we just do a Q&A on aliens, and people can submit questions before if they can't make it, and then we just go from there. So I like any of those ideas. So guys, let me know in the chat if you guys have a preference or which one you would want to do next week. Would you want to do something like talk about aliens in an open forum and everyone get to ask questions and submit questions? Or would you prefer to maybe like go over all of the above? That's what I'm thinking too. Do something like the Dimension series, and then we just kind of like break down a different part of the Dimension series. Both. Awesome. Okay, so I'm actually leaning more towards then, since we'll still be doing the alien series on Instagram, maybe next week we'll do like a Q&A on aliens, everything related to aliens and all of that, and then we could have like a little open forum. And two, I kind of like, people keep saying to create a Discord. Sorry, I keep looking down. I should be looking up here, but I'm looking at your guys' comments. But people keep saying to create a Discord, but I just don't really like that app. So I just think it would be fun if like maybe we just did it in the YouTube comments, because everyone has YouTube, everyone's using it anyway. Would you consider a roundtable where people speak about their alien experiences? Yeah, that could be cool. But I think I need to get some software, because right now I'm doing this a very makeshift way. I actually have my phone by a mirror behind it. It's You guys actually might have seen in the beginning what it looked like because I had the camera facing the wrong way. Is the video frozen? I hope not. But this is why also good. It's good that I have the comments right in front of me. Yeah, Discord is really hard to figure out. And it seems like there's so much good information in there, but I feel like it's not like super user friendly. Yeah, YouTube is good for lives. So, couple things that I want to talk about with you guys. How about these UFOs that it's kind of like now silence? We had like those, 3 UFO stories, and then now it's kind of silence on the situation. Personally, what I think in the situation is I do think it's all like a little parts of disclosure, like a tiny, slow disclosure that they're doing. Um, so, but it's pretty interesting now that it's like we're pretty much in it. And I know I did this in the Alien series, but there's actually a lot more to this book. Let me see if you guys can see it. Yeah. So this book, AD After Disclosure, which is what I named my series after, even though the series is not really about what the book is. There's only one part in the series. But the reason I called it that was because I just love the concept of this book, which is basically like, AD in real time, is like, means like after Jesus was born. So it's like before Christ, time descends basically to 0, and then time starts again from the birth of Jesus, according to the calendar that we've been taught. Now, this book like basically proposes the idea that like, oh, it's a whole nother AD. Like we're starting back at the year 1 again when the alien disclosure happens. So I think it's a really cool book, a cool concept. Look at these like cool things here. Now this book is written as like, it's a combination. It's like research about what would happen in disclosure combined with, so there's 2 writers, and one of them is like a Hollywood film style writer. So they kind of combined both. They combined the research with the writing style of making it a movie. So it's pretty cool. Like there's one part of the book where they talk about like, it's called like 12 Angry Insiders. And it's about like kind of like Majestic 12, but kind of this newer version of Majestic 12, because that doesn't really exist anymore. They call it different things now. And that basically like kind of they go through the possibilities of how disclosure conversation could happen in that group. But if is my thing working? Oh yeah, I was frozen. Sorry guys. So then we basically would have, it's like goes through the conversation where you have some of the insiders saying that we can't come out because we've lied for so long that we basically would have no credibility after this, and we would lose control, and basically we would just, no one would ever listen to us again. And then the other insiders are kind of like, disclosure is inevitable. This is happening regardless. The longer that we push this, the worse it's actually going to be. So it's pretty interesting that that's one of the things that I love in this book. Another thing that I really like, which is one of the things that I talked about in the series, is they have kind of like pop culture, and how alien disclosure is going to influence pop culture and celebrities, and how there's going to be like a shift in the type of celebrities that people are interested in. That basically, there's going to be more like celebrities from alien stuff, and like cars named after like Andromeda, and basically TV and movies, this like narrative of aliens would change. And it just kind of talks about all those different influences of pop culture with aliens, which I thought was so interesting. Like they talked about like, special edition like Pepsi and Coke and stuff like that. And it's so interesting to think about, because I don't think we usually think about that part in alien disclosure, that it's going to be, how is Pepsi and Coke going to react? How is McDonald's going to react to alien disclosure? I think those are like actually really valid questions that this book explores. Yep, they're losing control in either way. That's true. There's a movie with that exact plot. Yeah. So, also, I don't know if you guys saw my interview with Tim from Cosmic Disclosure. I actually had to take notes on it. I was thinking about it like after, and I was like, those answers were so complex because the way that Cosmic Disclosure does break up the interviews over many episodes, where they kind of talk about one topic for a long time, for, 30 minutes, and then they do like, I don't know, 6 to 12 episodes or something, with that one interview with that person, or 2 interviews with that person. And after that interview, I was like, damn, those answers were so complex. I have a whole list of follow-up questions that are already in my mind. That was very fun, though. I'm glad that he agreed to do it, and it was so nice. When I rewatched it, it's kind of embarrassing that like my end is very delayed. So he would say something, and I'd be like, like 5 seconds later. It was so awkward to watch. Yeah, he is so smart, and it takes a couple times for it to sink in. That's for sure. And even though I have like a good basis of knowledge of the stuff he talks about, oh, and another thing about that, guys, I'm gonna put this in a video, because I am gonna do a little video summarizing it, but I think I need to watch it again because there were some very complex answers in there. However, one of the things that, well, there's a couple things that he said during that interview. One, that it's going to definitely be a physical shift. I was like, oh, interesting. Another thing that I loved from that interview was basically that, we talked about the Maharishi effect and this whole idea that basically the square root of 1% is enough to create peace in your area. And I don't know if you probably are aware of these experiments where basically, they have several people like meditate, and then that affects a huge amount of people in their area. Crime goes down, all of this. So when you do that equation, they say it would be about 9,000 people for the whole planet. What's crazy is when I asked Tim about that, he said it could be one person. Like, he said 9,000 people, way less than that. He's like, it could be one person. And I was like, oh, it could be one person? Oh my God, guys, we're so good. We are so good. Yes, all shift happily now. That was so sweet. Mac and me. I remember that when I was a kid. Oh, thank you, Yasmin. That's so sweet. I know, Nick, me too. The physical shift comment, I did get a little bit jarred by that. So when I rewatched, I was very much paying attention to kind of see what he said aside from that, because even though he said it's very much a physical shift, he also said that even down to one person is enough to change everything, and that it doesn't really need to be bad. So that's really interesting too, because I think even though that did alarm me, I felt very comfortable after, like, well, it could be one person. Well, I'm shit. I'm one person. There's how many one people right here? Like, literally, we're so good. We so got this. Like, literally, yes, exactly. All shift happily now. Can I talk more about this physical shift? So, I didn't get into a ton of details with Tim about what he said about the physical shift. So, one of the things, though, I did ask what is his source of the information. And I know he doesn't want to give like a ton of information. He did want to mostly talk about the shift. So, of course, I wanted to respect that. I didn't want to ask like any personal questions or anything. But I did ask, so what is like the source of your information? Because, my source is like a lot of Dolores Cannon. And guys, you're going to like love this part. I reached out to him after the interview because I was thinking, and I was like, so much of what he said lines up perfectly with Dolores Cannon on so many levels. Like, it's insane. And then I forgot to ask him in the interview if he's ever read Dolores Cannon. Like, I think that's like an important question if their information is so similar, if he ever read her work. And he said that he's never heard of her. Or not that he's never heard of her. He says, I don't know who she is. Because I'm sure he's heard of her because I've seen when he did an interview on Gaia with Regina Meredith on that show Open Minds. She mentions Dolores Cannon to him. He doesn't really like kind of say like, oh yeah, he just kind of is like, oh. Also, he did the interview with Sarah Brexman, who works with Dolores Cannon's family. And Dolores Cannon comes through in her hypnosis sessions. I did an interview with her, and she told me about the first time that Dolores came through in a session. She told me about how Dolores comes through in her sessions through the client, telling her information. Oh my God, it's so good. I can't wait to do it. I've just been a little busy to edit everything. I digress. So, because so much of what Tim has said on Cosmic Disclosure and then in that interview that I did with him lines up so closely with Keepers of the Garden on so many things, what he says about grace, what he says about the shift, what he says about some of the souls, what he says about like the levels of consciousness, almost all of that is in Keepers of the Garden too. And then obviously her later work. So I needed to know if he read it, and the fact that he doesn't really know who she is. He said I actually should look into her work because now that I'm a part of this more spiritual community, I do want to know a lot of these things. And I was like, you know what? It's actually great that you haven't, because so much of your information lines up with it. I did suggest for him to read Keepers of the Garden, though. Another thing that he said is when I told him about Keepers of the Garden, he said that's very interesting title because this is how the Greys refer to themselves. And what's interesting, hold on, let me grab it. It's right here. I'm just looking at it. Okay. So Keepers of the Garden here. So it's just there's so much in this book that lines up with this. And so he asked if this book is about Greys. Now it's hard to say yes to that, even though that's a partial yes. Because it is kind of about the Greys, but they don't really like, it's mostly through the subconscious mind of Phil. So like a very brief summary on this, if you guys haven't read this book, this is actually like one of my favorite Dolores Cannon books. Top 2 Dolores Cannon books. Maybe top 1. Because it's the most cohesive and it just takes you through such a journey, such a wild ride. I love it. So basically Dolores Cannon was seeing this woman. This was in the 80s. So there wasn't cell phones. So like if she was coming to your house for a house call, she'd be like, okay, I'm going to leave Arkansas and drive to the next state to come see you. See you soon. Drives to the next state, you know, doesn't check in the whole time, shows up at her door. This woman flakes on her. After Dolores drove like all these hours to go see this woman, she was so pissed, she leaves, obviously, without the session. Then the woman calls her and does it again. So Dolores drives to this woman and she's like, I swear, if I drive all the way to you and you like are not there to do this session, I'm like never gonna work with you again. This is a waste of my time driving both directions. I made this exception for you. She gets to this woman's house and there's in the driveway this van that like fixes electronics. And this is in the 80s. This is all happening in like 1986, I believe, is when this started. So it's like, think like Stranger Things vibe is how I envision it. And it's like this van that fixes electronics. So she's like, oh, maybe she's getting some work done in the house. She's like, well, I hope this guy's not going to be there while we do this hypnosis session. Whoever's fixing stuff in there. She goes in. This young guy in his late 20s or early 20s, something like that, named Phil, his fake name in the book. What I would give to find out who Phil is in real life and talk to him. Maybe I can ask Sarah Brexman. Maybe she can find Phil for me. I hope Phil's alive. So Phil answers the door and he's like, oh, by the way, basically she's not going to be here, but you're going to do the session on me. And Dolores is like, oh, God, some 20-year-old guy? And at the time, this was in the 80s, Dolores said that she actually didn't like to work on people under the age of 30, that she felt that that changed a lot in her career. as the souls changed, which we learned about with all the 3 waves of volunteers, different levels of souls. But she said that in the early work, to work on someone that was under 30 didn't have enough like self-reflection to be able to like acknowledge certain things in themselves to even get the full thing out of it. And she just felt like she didn't like working on people until they were a little bit older and further in their life. So she didn't even like to work on someone like Phil. She does this session on him. It's all boring to her. It's like a regular one. Most of them are boring. I mean, 90% of them, I mean, they're exciting to each person. But if we were to read all of these different past life regressions that she did, they're probably quite boring. She calls them like picking potatoes lives. She says so much of the sessions is people literally like, you know, in a village. That's majority of it. Most of them are not these spectacular stories that are in her books. So she basically then says, she does this session on him. She's like, okay, well, you know, I'll never probably see this kid again anyway. Oh, well, at least, you know, this woman, I did some session. And so she drives back, and then he wants to see her again. And she doesn't really want to, because she was kind of like, I think we like kind of did it, but okay. She does another session with him. He experiences some other past lives. They're just kind of normal past lives. She's like, all right, cool. And then she starts to learn that Phil is going to other like planets. When he starts to go into this hypnotic state, he starts to travel to other places and starts to have a lot of crazy information. And he's actually became the source of so many of her books. Beyond, Between Death and Life, so much of The Custodians, so much of The Convoluted Universe is Phil. All of this book is Phil. So much of the Nostradamus book is Phil. So she ended up working with Phil for years then, after they found out that actually he was actually, now what's amazing about Phil, this was his first human life, but then he had all of these past lives. This is how Dolores learned about imprinting. So imprinting is basically when, before you incarnate, there's almost like the way that I saw it when I was under hypnosis, because I had learned about imprinting from Dolores. Also, Elizabeth April talks about imprinting as well. I understood imprinting. I didn't know if like my own past life memories were imprinting or not. But then when I went under hypnosis, I felt like, and you know, we see the Akashic records a lot of times as a library. What I saw as my memories of my past lives, I saw a Dewey Decimal System. Some of you guys, if you're a little younger, might not know what a Dewey Decimal System is. It's just like a filing system of a bunch of tiny drawers, so that when you're in a library, you can find any book you want. So they're basically all in alphabetical order, and probably by topics and things like that. And I think maybe not by topics. Maybe it's both. I don't know. It's a system that was very effective for many years in all libraries before the computers. And you'd pull it out and go to the author's name, and then you could see all the books that they have of that author and what section in the library they'd be in. That's what I saw when I was under hypnosis, when it was just like a kind of like, I saw that like I opened this drawer kind of, and I know this is like imagery that it's like symbolism so you can understand it. This is not actually how it looks over there on the other side or how it works. But I saw like a drawer, and it was kind of like I went to like women's problems, and I like took them all. You know, I was like, all right, I'm going to deal with all of these in this life. Sure, I'm going to eat I'm going to just absorb all of everything that has ever happened to women throughout all of history, and going to feel somehow personally responsible to karmically help it. Let's do it. And it was like, literally, I saw that for like a second in like hypnosis, that I didn't even get to say those words. It was just like fast imagery that then later that night, I was like, damn, it was like a Dewey Decimal System, like the imprinting. So we find out that that Phil in the Dolores book has never lived any of these past lives that he's regressed to. They're all imprints. Now, as that unravels, we find out that Phil has been getting abducted his whole life. We find out that Phil is a part of this hybrid program since he's a child. They've been taking samples from him since he's a little kid. The Greys have been abducting him, experimenting, upgrading his body, using specimens, creating basically hybrid children. There's also mantis beings on this ship This has happened his whole life. He had no recollection. Over all of these hypnosis, it starts to come out and it becomes really horrifying to him. The book is incredible too. By the end is even better because then we find out his whole soul's story. But what's crazy is that, so this book, back to what the interview with Tim is, he knows a lot about grays. And what's interesting is so much of the information that Dolores says about aliens, about abductions, about why they're doing it, why they only do it to certain people. There's also a chapter in here, I won't be able to find it so quickly right now, but that it actually talks a little bit about their kind of government system in a very simple way, which is a simplified version of what Tim has said in different interviews, not with me. So I guess in a way this book is a little bit about the grays. It's just that they don't really like identify as the grays. They kind of just like identify as like Phil's mission and the people that he's on this like other mission with. Resonating with imprinting. Yeah, you know, this Dolores book is Keepers of the Garden. One of my favorites. It's a very simple one. A lot of people try to dive into Convoluted Universe because it sounds really cool. Convoluted Universe none of those are easy reads. Those are not very easy books to read because they are just different topics. So every chapter is an individual topic. The reason I really love this book is because it's Phil's full journey, and we learned so much along with Phil's journey. And the book takes over the course of several years of working with Phil. So that's why I think this is the best one. Yeah, I would suggest starting with Between Death and Life. Same. That's my other favorite. And it depends kind of, I always say like what they're kind of more interested in. If you're more interested in like souls, life purpose, bigger questions, God, Jesus, the devil, ghosts, I would say do Between Death and Life. If you're someone who's having like weird alien stuff happening to you and you're very like feeling like some alien something is happening, Keepers of the Garden is probably a good place to start. You loved Three Waves the best. I'm surprised. I do like that book, but it's actually nothing what I thought it was going to be, the Three Waves of Volunteers book, because so much of that book is actually about these abductions. And I had no idea that so much of the book was about the abductions. Oh yeah, Shauna, I love audiobooks too. Keepers of the Garden, the first time, I actually mostly do them on audiobooks, and then I buy the physical sometimes if I need to research more. You started with Conversations with Nostradamus. That's a hard place to start because that one is definitely very dense. It's so dense to read the quatrains and stuff. Do I know about a species of aliens called the Minnetonkas? I don't, but I feel like, has Matthias De Stefano talked about them? Because I feel like I've heard the name, and I feel like I might have heard it from watching him, but it's, aside from that, would have been the only place that I think I might have heard about it. Yeah, Keepers of the Garden as an audiobook is actually very great. And then you say after Keepers to jump into Convoluted Universe. Yeah, I like that. I love Convoluted Universe Book 2. I would say Convoluted Book 2 is my third favorite Dolores book of everything because they have some really cool stories in there. Oh, wow. That's the thing too, like, I'll just read your comment out loud. That as an Arab woman, you have struggled a lot to learn about the karmic lessons for Arab females. Also, maybe that's why I felt connected to you immediately. Thank you for sharing that. And I feel like that is such, like, to be able to kind of release things karmically, and I know there's just so much going on in the world and everything, but to kind of, you even have that awareness to know that part of what you're doing is actually collectively healing a part of Arab women, and by you stepping into your power and your purpose is actually on an energetic level doing something to the collective, to everyone that is right now incarnated as an Arabic woman, but also to everyone who ever has been throughout history. It's healing a part of their soul. So I really love to look at stuff that way. Like, call it toxic positivity. I don't really give a shit. But I really do think that a lot of, and it's not to minimize what's happening to anyone, but when you're living through something and you're able to reflect on this in those ways, that you can know that on a deeper level, you're actually doing something more. Like you choosing to do better for yourself one day, just you doing that for yourself. You're doing that collectively for people, for women, for humanity. So I love that. Is the Pleiadian Agenda out on audiobooks? The one by Barbara Handclough? Yes, it is. That one is on audiobook. That's how I actually read it. You sure you've been abducted? And you think that Keepers of the Garden will unlock memories. Actually, guys, that's very true. I know people who that has happened to. Even there's things that myself reading that book that I needed to be like, ooh, why does that feel so weird? I got that a lot during the 3 Waves of Volunteers too, when they were talking about the hybrid program. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's an irrational fear, or if when the hybrid program is talked about that I feel a little like woozy. I'm like, what is that about? It creeps me out a little bit. If I am a part of the hybrid program, then it's meant to be, and I'm a part of it, and I signed up for that. But I also understand why I would not know that information, because that's pretty scary. I'd be pretty scared. Even though on like a deeper level, I kind of feel like I wouldn't be fully shocked. Maybe I wouldn't be fully scared. Because, okay, so you guys know, I'm sure some of you have watched the Akashic Records video that I did that explains the Linda Howe book. So I do want to share a little bit about some of the things, because we're on that topic, that came through in the Akashic Records. So one time I was asking the Akashic Records about, I was asking them about the Alien series. So in the series that I had done, almost all of them, not the Harvey series and not the John Bonet, or Brittany Murphy, but like the spiritual ones, I asked the Akashic Records how to do those series, what to put in it, what was the order, and they just gave me a list, and then I did the rest. A list of things that I already had access to. They didn't give me any information that was completely brand new to me. It wasn't like they gave me anything that was like a name I never heard of. But it was like they kind of went through my brain and were like, this. And we're like, okay, for the Earth Shift, you take this. They gave me the list of things, like the sources where it's coming from, or like which book it's coming from. And then I had to go into that book and find it. So, or into that source, or that video, or that person, find their information. So they did that. I started doing the Apocalypse series on my own. When the Antichrist stuff happened and it really blew up, and I was like, oh my God, this is actually like a lot going on. I need to ask the Akashic Records, how do I handle this? They told me how to finish the series, and then told me how to do the Earthshift series. Then I don't know if they told me how to do the Mandela series. I think I just did that one. And then they told me how to do the Alien series and the Soul series. But the way that they told me to do the Alien series, obviously I'm posting it right now on Instagram, so you know how long it is, because I'm only like 15 parts in, and then there's all these extra parts. It's super long. So the thing is, with that Alien series, when they were giving me that information, I was laying down. I usually do lay down with my eyes closed when I do it. I'm not a sitting up meditator person. I think that's probably why I can't do the Kundalini stuff very well, because I like to lay back to meditate. That's my vibe. I want to like body be driftwood, I don't want to be like, I know for your spine it's good, but I can't go that deep like that. So with the Akashic Records, when I was getting the information about the Alien series, they told me that the abduction that I had as a kid, which I only remember as a UFO coming down. I don't remember after that, but there is time that was lost. I have that video up if you guys want to watch it. But they told me that it was Grays and that I was a part of this hybrid program. And I was like, sat up right away, like, why would you tell me that right now? Like, I didn't even ask. Like, Like, well, do you have an idea of what kind of hybrid you'd be? I don't know if I'm a hybrid. I'm not saying that I'm part of the hybrids like that. I feel like they might have been taking stuff from me. I know this sounds so bizarre and crazy, but this is why we want to do this interactive lives, because it's more interesting. Because then I'm actually talking to someone, and then I actually want to tell you guys things instead of just like talking into a camera by myself. But yeah, so no, I feel like if there is this thing, they told me that I was a part of this hybrid program, that it is grays, and that's also would be interesting too, because then you go back to the Dolores stuff and then the Tim from Cosmic Disclosure stuff. A lot of the information that I resonate with actually is kind of subtly connected to grays as well. And you know me, I've been fighting the gray fight on Instagram all week because yeah, I had a lot of videos about grays. There's more videos about them coming up. And people there just say they're demonic, they're evil, they're this, they're that, and I'm fighting that fight. I mean, I have right now on my phone that I'm filming on, I have grays on the back of it. Is that kombucha? Yes. And this is my last attempt, Health Aid, for you to sponsor me. No, I've never asked them, but I pretend every time like they owe me something. I agree with that. Where you said that you think grays went too far with the AI and are trying to go back to the light. I agree with that very much. Um, do you think they lied? I think the grays are lying, and that's just me. Um, I think anyone could be lying. And we also don't know if grays are grays because the small grays are just robots that anyone can buy in the galaxy. So, like, I don't know, an alien from another star system with a completely different form or with no form at all, maybe just consciousness, could purchase a gray AI robot, the small ones, and send them to Earth and do things. And that they would be able to kind of live in a 3D avatar through what the grays have created. So it's hard to say what the grays are actually responsible for if that body is basically sold to whoever wants it. The grays do scare you. They can be scary. I love them though. I think they're so cute. Yeah, exactly. That the grays, the small grays, are the middlemen. We don't know who's behind them, and that's what I agree with too. I think we're more inclined to think that there's something bad behind them. But who says that it's not also other higher dimensional beings at times too, and that those higher dimensional beings want to come into the 3D in a way that they're allowed to? Thanks, Ricardo. When you said they can time travel, yeah, that's the other thing too, is that they are a time traveling species. And according to what Tim has said on Cosmic Disclosure, this I've never seen Dolores say, but I haven't read The Custodians, so she might say something about it in that book, which is a lot about the grays also. Tim said that the grays claim that they were around before our universe, that they come from another version of the universe that is an older version of the universe, and that before our universe was created, they already existed. So then that has me thinking, now this process that we believe is happening, that we hear from all of these Eastern religions, that then now has come out through other forms of hypnosis and meditation and stuff throughout the rest of the planet. What I wonder is like, you know, I lost it. Okay. You thought that's what cats are for, higher beings coming into the 3D world. So that's interesting you say that, because some people do believe that about cats. They actually say that about several of the animals. They say that because Earth is a living library, that actually every animal that we see on the planet, cats, dogs, everything, is actually part of the genetic makeup of an alien species, and that they are always connected to that. So I also heard Elizabeth April talk about this with the mantis beings, that she says that sometimes the little mantis cute insects that are here, sometimes that they're almost like a transmitter to a mantis race of aliens. So I wouldn't be surprised if cats are doing the same thing. I've heard that a lot. Now, it's another thing that's interesting that comes up in this Pleiadian book, Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak. She says that the Pleiadians channel about the cat stuff, that there is connections to cats and interdimensional stuff. However, they say also people who are allergic to cats. They say that that's actually a sign of kind of like the person has been pretty, they're closing themselves off from love in a way. And that they like feel like they're not, like they don't get enough love or something. There's some block around love, which I thought was interesting too. You know, a lot of the channeled Pleiadian stuff talks a lot about how sometimes these physical things like allergies are directly connected to thoughts, feelings, emotions. But also, sometimes people have allergies, they say, because they're used to being at a higher frequency. And them coming into the body, it's really like, you know, the body's fighting, you know, to kind of hold that higher frequency. That's interesting that you've also heard of that with the cats. That was so, yeah. And then when I thought about people that are allergic to cats, I could see things like that. Oh, you're also a Leo. Yes. Super interesting with the allergies. I know. I thought that too. Also, one of the other things that I've heard very common in spiritual stuff about some allergies, obviously, you know, you don't want to like treat your allergies by being like, I'm gonna treat my allergy with love. You know, if you're like genuinely allergic to it, you know, you don't want to like harm yourself in any way like that. So, you know, obviously those things will still be mitigated because they're still happening in the real world, in the physical. But how maybe some of those origins can be rooted in things that maybe, you know, because there's a lot of people who were allergic to food for a while, but then now they're not. And that could also be things too that they've changed, they've developed. Can I do a series on frequency healing? I did one video on it. I don't know if it's up still on my TikTok. I think I might have taken it down actually. But, you know, the healing frequency, I know a bit about. I don't know too much about it because I'm not really as much of a energy healer, but I kind of know it from more the research side. Oh, I love that, Ricky. That cats are very spiritual, but dogs are very helpful physically. Oh, I love dogs so much. You would love to know about how to raise and keep the high frequency. So I think you probably mean in yourself, in your body, in your environment, in your world, because it's all going to ripple out. I think the best things for working with your frequency is absolutely affirmations. I know it sounds like so easy. And also, too, when we did the interview with Tim from Cosmic Disclosure, when I asked him about the Earth shift, what is like the best thing that people can do to make this happen? He really says, say that all shift happily now. And I really believe in affirmations so much because it's like so many things that I want to get done. I will listen. So what I like to do is I actually, I have an audiobook of affirmations. I think it's like over 1,000 affirmations and they have different categories and you listen to it and then you say it back. I do it all the time. And it's so great, like to be in your car and like everyone's an asshole driving like an idiot and you're like, you're doing your affirmations and you're like, I am well liked by others. And it's like chaos around you and you're like repeating these affirmations that maybe not all of them are stuff you need to work on, but it is really nice to, I do pick a couple of ones. So I do productivity affirmations. I do work stress affirmations, which is a good one. Things like, I always have enough time to get the things done that need to get done. I'm good at prioritizing tasks. Like, it sounds so corny, and I'm sure my neighbors like don't enjoy hearing it because I listen to them also when I sleep, and the walls are this thin. So maybe at night they hear the little remnants of like, I will not give in to fear disguised as procrastination. That's one of my favorite ones. So Oh, you created an affirmation bingo game called Chakra Zero. Cool. That sounds cool. Ooh, you have a protocol for clearing, shielding, and activating crystalline DNA. Talk about the Silva method. Okay, I love the Silva method so much. So, if any of you guys have done Mind Valley, you would know. You can also read the Jose Silva books. I did the Jose Silva audiobook first. I really enjoyed it. I did the um, listen along ones, and I really liked that. But then I invested in doing Mind Valley because I wanted to learn it like the newer, updated way with interactive exercises, which was incredible. However, if those things are not in your budget right now, you can actually do one of the Silva exercises, one of the guided meditations that you actually get when you pay for with Mind Valley. It's called Silva Method Centering Exercise. It's 20 minutes. I have a playlist on my YouTube that says something like Powerful Meditations playlist. If you click on the playlist tab, it's on there. I have that Silva Method one. That's a great meditation to do. I highly suggest if you guys want to practice the Silva Method, that's a good way to do it without having to sign up for anything just yet. However, I'll explain it to you because you will enjoy the meditation, but you do need that little bit of explanation that they teach in the class to really get the most out of the meditation. So the biggest thing with Silva is that it was created by Jose Silva in the 1960s. Now, these different brain waves have not all been discovered by that time. So he talks a lot about getting into an alpha state or getting into a theta state. However, there wasn't gamma and some other things discovered yet, and there wasn't. So that's one thing to keep in mind with this, but I don't think it really matters what the names are. I feel like you kind of feel when you're going into those altered states, and it doesn't really matter if they're calling it alpha in the Silva method because it's outdated and more discoveries have happened, or maybe we're even vibrating on something that hasn't been discovered yet. That's how I feel about a lot of this stuff. I feel like the discoveries are way behind what a lot of people like us are becoming aware of. So the way that you do this, though, is basically through a self-hypnosis. They don't call it that, but that's basically what it is. It's a self-hypnosis that you use visualization. So the best way to kind of hypnotize yourself would be, and also visualization gets you into your right brain. This is what Dolores Cannon's QHHT method does too. They use visualization and prompts to bring you to your, why am I going to the left side of my head? The right brain. You go to your right brain, and then as you go to the right brain, it's more visual. The analytical side kind of goes a little sleepy, and then you can really get into these altered states through that. So the way that they do it is so simple. I do this every day, or almost every day. You have to, in your mind, see the number 3 times. So like in your head, see 3, 3, 3. However 3 wants to look for you. 3 could look different each time, different. Every time you do it, 3 could look different. Every time you do it, 3 could look the same. Then you do 2, 2, 2. You see those 2, 2, 2. And then the last one is 1, 1, 1. You see that. Now, when you do the centering exercise, the one that's on YouTube, and those guided meditations, that's how you practice. So they do 3, 3, 3, and then they move through your whole body, relaxing it, and then you do 2, 2, 2. So the 3, 3, 3 is physical relaxation. Number 2, 2, 2 is mental relaxation. And then 1, 1, 1 is entering your center. So when you do those guided meditations many times, after a while of practicing and doing it guided for so long, you don't need to go relax your head, relax your eyebrows, relax your eyes, relax your mouth, relax your chin, relax this. Keep going down. You don't have to do that because you do it so many times and you always associate it with those visual markers in your brain that now as soon as you can like close your eyes and you can go 3, 3, 3, you can feel actually the wave of relaxation come over your body because now you've actually trained yourself to do that. Now, is Vishen married? I think Vishen was married. Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm not going to read your comment out loud, but that is so funny. I love Vishen. I have never met him. I do want to meet him just because I really love his work and I love Mind Valley and I loved his book, Guide to the Extraordinary Mind. Now, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my own experience with this because basically the 333-222-111, I see the same ones all the time. Well, it's 3 different 3s, 3 different 2s, and then the 1 is kind of murky and changes at times. But for the 3s, I see something that's very kind of bizarre. I realize that most people are just seeing like maybe like someone holding up a 3, maybe the number 3, maybe a movie 3, maybe like typed 3, handwritten 3. I didn't realize that the way that I was seeing 3 was maybe a little abnormal. But because of that, I feel like that's why I'm able to get into that state pretty well, because it actually is pretty, personally, this is what I've learned from learning Dolores Cannon's hypnosis method. The more details and the more immersed that you can become in a visualization is how you are going to get into those altered states of mind to access information. That's why I do the Silva method before I do the Akashic records. So I can get into that altered state, then I say the prayer, then I feel like I receive the information very clearly. Sometimes it has happened that I can't get into that state because of whatever's happening and I just need information and advice at that moment, and I'm not going to be able to chill myself as much. It does still work, but that has taken like me doing it a lot to be able to access it in that state, and I try not to do that because it's not like super clear. But so when you do the Dolores Cannon hypnosis method, it's not just the visualization. They want you to hear the sounds, smell, see, look down, see your feet inside the body. I know I don't need to do that with my eyes closed. So you would look down and see yourself inside the body, and that integrates you more into the visualization. That's how I did also the astral travel, was combining that stuff from the Dolores method. Now, I do that also with the Silva method. I combine that extra knowledge that I have of how to immerse really deeper into that right brain and how to get into that visualization. So what I do when I see the 333, this is so weird. So the first 3 is like this dark street, and a giant 3 falls from the sky, crushes a car. The alarm goes off and the street's like dark. It's this giant 3. Now the second time I see the 3, it's like 3, 3. Now the 3, it's kind of been like cleared more. Like now it's kind of become like this attraction, this like monolith. So then they put like neon lighting, like the old school Vegas with the light bulbs and like neons and stuff. And so it's a giant 3. Then the third 3 is actually like, so the 3's here, but now they've built a whole entire carnival of a carnival world based off of this 3. So then I like walk in this like kind of sandy stuff, and I see myself walking in this like sandy terrain, and then there's like this big archway, kind of astral worldy, but not like Travis Scott's head, but kind of like how there's that like carnival arch. You see that like Krusty's World on Simpsons. It's like, I guess, just, you know, one of those carnival things. And it's like that, but like kind of old. And a lot of times I'm walking down myself, and I don't ever see myself go through the thing. I walk up to it, I get closer to it, and then I do too. Sometimes I'm not alone, which is interesting. I didn't realize that's weird until I was kind of talking about it with my friend. Sometimes I'll be walking to the thing and there'll be someone with me, but I can't really see who it is, but there will sometimes be people that kind of accompany me to the door. What's crazy as hell is that I was in Vegas in January. And we went to the Neon Sign Museum, or the Neon Museum, whatever it's called. The Neon Museum, of all of these old Vegas signs, that this is their graveyard where they all go to die and retire. So they have things all the way from the original Vegas Strip and the original old Vegas. They have all of these, like, they take down all the lighting when they redo these places, and instead of throwing it away, it goes to basically this nonprofit organization that preserves them and preserves the history of them. Tell me why, when I walk into this place, which was not my choice to go there, someone else wanted to do it, and I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. I loved it. Oh my God. There was it looked like that. It was the same floor, the same street neighborhood, the same cold feeling. What was even crazier is from the old Sahara, the Sahara Casino in Vegas, the old one. They have the old archway, which is like, it's this archway with lights on it. It literally looked like my world from the Silva method. I still can't believe it. I'll post a video on my Instagram stories of me, like, kind of, I do have it already posted there, but I'll repost it to show you that that's what I see, which is crazy. And then when we get to the number 2, I'll be quick. When we get to the number 2, I see myself in this kind of like apartment that looks like an apartment, the style of apartments where I grew up, where there was like these kind of 2 and 3 family houses, and that like first level, the window was kind of like pushed out like that. So it's a guy in an apartment like that, but he has no face, but he's bald, and he has a gray suit on, and he's sitting there with his legs crossed, kind of clipboard, but I don't see the clipboard, but it seems like there's something in his thing. And then I'm in this room and he just goes like this. And that's one of the 2s. Another one of the 2s that I see is like, kind of like the Zorro, but it's a 2. Like, it's all black and like fire comes. So this is ridiculous, I know. However, the more that you immerse in your visualizations, the more intense that you're going to shift fully into that right brain. And the more that you're fully shifted into that more receptive part of the brain, you can receive more information. At this 3 situation, I know. Interesting. Okay, so I don't know how long I'm usually going to do these for. I think, I'm going to do just like, a little over an hour for today. So we're about an hour now. Do you guys have any questions? Because that... Aw. Hi, Ruby. Let me see what else I have here. Oh, I had a couple of other things. Thanks, Cheryl. Let me show you this. Okay. One last thing I'll talk about before I go. Oh, thanks, Brooke. Oh, you want to hear the Elvis story? Okay. I didn't know if you guys wanted to hear it. It's so kind of ridiculous, but I'll tell it to you quickly. Anything that came through the mirror while you're sleeping? No, I've never had any type of mirror stuff happen in my life. But I'm also not very open to ghosts. I'm open to aliens. I'm open to angels. Ghosts and stuff like that. I've been very closed off since I was a kid. Okay, so I will finish with this then. I'll finish with my little Elvis story that I've kind of talked about in my past life video and then in my last video. So this is like just kind of really ridiculous. One recommendation, say raw dogging more. I mean, that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing. Tim Burton did an exhibit at the Neon Museum and they had a Mars attack set up. Oh my God, that sounds so awesome. Ugh. Yes, Danny. Okay, so that's one of the things too. When I'm going to do the online course on March 12th. And, oh yeah, everyone check out Jennifer's Venmo. Hell yeah. So also, My course will be available also. Anyone that got it that say either can't make the full thing or maybe still just wants to go back. You did watch the whole thing. You still want to watch it back. I'm gonna send you guys all an unlisted link. Thanks, Michaela. Thank you. Yeah, so I'll finish up with the Elvis story, and then we can maybe. What are we going to talk about next week? Is it going to be dimensions? Is it going to be aliens? Is it going to be souls? Souls could be fun. The cowboy story, you liked it? Thank you. So speaking of that, it was way before this actually. When I was 18 years old, I did different like modeling and stuff when I was younger. You know, I have a memoir coming out. It's a whole bunch of fucked up stuff. So you'll eventually know about it. But during this time when I was 18 years old, I got a call randomly from someone who had seen my photo and then found my phone number and called me. And he was this psychic from Greece, although he was living in New York, but he was like from Greece or something like that, or lived there and came back. I don't know. He had seen a photo of me and was like, I just had to call you and let you know that you are Elvis reincarnated. And I start laughing, obviously, because that is the most ridiculous thing that you could tell someone. Okay, guys, I think you're voting for souls for next week. So I like that idea too. So I'm going to put it in the comments too, for other people who didn't get to make it, that they can vote for stuff too. But based on this, I think we're doing souls. But I will also put Time Wars in there too. So this guy tells me that I'm Elvis reincarnated, and I just like think it's ridiculous and hilarious. And I talked to him for a few, maybe like 20 minutes. He tells me some other stuff, which was interesting. Gave me like a quote, which is very relevant to my life again and again. And he said this was like a message for me to remember. And it has been relevant. It's still relevant today, that quote. It always seems to find a way in my life for that to kind of happen. But I didn't take this very seriously. I'm not going to go around thinking that I'm Elvis reincarnated. That's insane. But that was kind of like an introduction for me to past lives. That was kind of the first that I had really ever learned about it. So that's what I actually think the purpose of this situation was. I think the purpose was actually to start teaching me about the idea and the concept of past lives. So this kind of weird thing that happens that is like out of the blue like that, maybe like is not the universe saying that I'm Elvis. It's the universe saying, look into past lives. And I did not look into past lives. I moved on and did nothing about it. That was when I was 18. Then when I was like 21 or 22, I think, was in that cowboy story. So then I'd always been into aliens, paranormal, stuff like that. But certain parts of spirituality, not really. Past lives, I did kind of believe in reincarnation, but I hadn't really put that much thought into it by the point in my life, I don't believe. So then as he started to, like in my last video, talking with this cowboy about how basically he started to teach me about consciousness. So then while I'm having this, he came in for like 6 months. So we had like a 6-month friendship or something like that. And basically, this other psychic woman, I lived in Queens at the time. I was eating some food in a pizzeria. This woman had like 5 children and they were out of control. They were tearing the pizza place up, like up and down, left and right. They were just screwing up this pizza place like no other. The chili pepper everywhere, the garlic salt, everything everywhere. The kids, everything everywhere. Pizza crusts. And they're sitting like at another table, not the one that I'm sitting on. Then this woman comes up to me and gives me her card, and she's like, in 10 days, something is going to happen to you. Something very special. And in those 10 days when it happens to me, you call me and we'll talk about it and we can figure it out. But it's going to happen. Psychic lady. And I'm like, okay. Like, that's weird. Whatever. I didn't take it seriously. I go to work the cowboy is there that day. I told him about this psychic woman had just said this to me. She said something's going to happen in 10 days that's going to be special. Here, call me when it happens. He's like, well, let's see what happens in 10 days. Because he was all about the universe and the synchronicities and like everything happens for a reason and this is all part of the divine plan. So I was like, well, I don't know. We'll see what happens in 10 days. Now, 10 days come. Nothing particularly interesting happens. I come into work. It's poetry night at work, the same thing as the last video with the cowboy. It's poetry reading. And the story, the person who's featured would, if they were featured, they got to read more poems than someone else. The person who's featured is reading a poem based on something that happened to them when they were a child. So it's kind of a story, but in the form of a poem. And this person was living in New York City at the time. And there's a movie set. And these kids are playing around. And, you know, like the parents didn't know where they were. They were like out in the streets and stuff. So they find this movie set. And then they like want to get into the movie set and want to get in the movie. The movie was starring Elvis. So I remember I was sitting there watching this poem, like kind of half watching it. The cowboy is sitting at the bar. I'm behind him. He's at the bar, facing that way. He like turns around like with his like cowboy hat, like wow, 10 days? On the 10th day, as we're waiting for the thing to happen, this person is talking about how meeting Elvis when they were 8 years old changed their whole life. And I was like, that is so just ridiculous. Now, then he ended up saying, he's like, well, why would you be getting this information? Maybe there's something Elvis wants you to know. Or maybe there's something Elvis was figuring out that you need to finish figuring out for him. I'm like, all right. I like that. I'm going to go home and start researching about Elvis and see what I can find. So I start researching about Elvis, and what's crazy, I can't even find this information now. I tried to look it up prior to the video. I couldn't find it. But I get into this whole thing that Elvis had this numerologist, and that he was so obsessed with numerology that he did everything based on numerology. He had this numerologist that was doing all this stuff. This is when I then discovered that Elvis died on August 16th, 1977. I was born August 16th, 1988, 11 years to the day of Elvis's death. So then my friends were like, well, dude, it's official. You're Elvis. I mean, come on. I'm like, no. Then, a couple years ago, probably 2019, I think, maybe 2020, I was living in a different apartment building, and I went to the gym. And, you know, like they'll like play the TVs in the gym and they have the terrible, worst closed captions ever that you can hardly make out what they're saying. It's like phonetically all spelled wrong. It's just like the worst of the worst closed captions ever. I'm on like the Stairmaster and I'm reading these captions on the TV, like stupid stuff, news, this, that. It was like, I don't even know why this was on at this time. It was kind of like a replay of like a Jimmy Kimmel or like a Seth MacFarlane or something. So I don't even know why it was on that time. Maybe it was later at night than I remember. Maybe I was at 11:30 at night that I was doing that. I don't know. That actually probably makes more sense. But the guy on the screen, who is an actor that I don't know who he is. I don't know what his name is. I don't remember fully what he looks like. He just looked regular. He looked like Shia LaBeouf, but if like he had no defining features, if he was just like Shia LaBeouf as like an NPC like person in a game. I don't know, like a background character. That's what this guy looked like. I can't remember. I don't know who he was because then everything was spelled wrong too. But this guy is telling a story while I'm working out and I'm reading it, and he says that he's Elvis reincarnated. And that this is why he had this role in this movie. It's not the Elvis movie because this was years ago. Talking about how he's Elvis reincarnated, and talking about the story about how he found out he's Elvis reincarnated. And I'm like half reading it, and I'm like, who is this guy? I still did not know who he is, and I was like, was that like a sick joke from the universe to like remember this weird, stupid Elvis story? So what do I think it means? I don't think I'm Elvis. I think it means, oh, and the other thing too, what people always said is you'll know you're Elvis if you ever meet Lisa Marie. And when I was doing the Harvey trial, down the hall was the Danny Masterson trial, and Lisa Marie was supposed to come in. And I was like, there was a little part of me that was like, well, I guess we'll really know then. But then, unfortunately, poor Lisa Marie passed away. So, I think it's safe to say, though, even though we'll never know for sure, I think we know for sure I'm probably not Elvis. But I think that that whole thing happened because of how important past lives are going to be in my life, you know, because past lives was a big part of my spiritual journey too. Aw, thank you. Someone's saying you're so Elvis. That's so funny. No, I think it's so like, and then when that other guy said it, I'm like, oh, so this is just like a psychic scam that they do then. Although I didn't give that guy any money or ever speak to him again or anything. But like, then though, circle back to the beginning of our conversation. Imprints. Could there be an Elvis imprint that some of us have downloaded? And maybe that's kind of what people pick up on. I don't know. Cowboy Elvis. Hell yeah. Jules, you said it at the same time as me. Well, everybody, thank you so much for this. I think we're going to do souls next time. So I'm going to put that down below in the comments, and then going to put like any questions that you have about souls we can ask here. And also I'll do it on Instagram too. Well, guys, thanks so much. Oh, see, like, yeah, Natasha, the Marilyn Monroe imprint. I really do believe that. I believe a lot of people have like a Marilyn Monroe imprint. Wow, Patriot. Kind of. If that was the case. Oh, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Oh. Well, everybody, we'll see you next Tuesday at 6 p.m. my time. It's pretty confusing, but I think Australia is in a good time frame, and people in America are in a good time frame, and then everybody else, you'll have to leave your comments mostly for the next one. We'll be able to answer some stuff from the comments too. All right, thank you guys. Love you. Thank you for being here. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Carolyn. That's sweet. Wow, Divine Feminine, Marilyn Monroe. You're right. Yep, time to meditate and get some affirmations. You can find free affirmations on YouTube. Oh, bye, Danny. Bye, guys. Oh, I have to stop it from over there. That's why.